Hi, I'm Paul and this is Lee. Welcome to the Just Pull the Trigger podcast.
This is the show that discusses the trials, tribulations and triumphs of a small business owner. On today's show, we're chatting to freelance brand expert Sara Kelly, without the H. In the episode, we talk about the regular mistakes small brands make, how challenging times have changed her perspective on life and business, and how getting in the cold heats up her creative energy. All this and more to come on Just Pull the Trigger.
So you're doing cold plunge, you're doing cold swimming?
A bit of both. Right. So yeah, I generally cold plunge through the winter. And I've still got my plunge pod out, but I'm not using it as much now because it's too warm. But I need to get one of these cooler.
Yeah, Paul's got like this motor on the side of it. Yeah. It's not loud though, is it?
No.
It's just
it's good.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, but I love just like getting out in nature as well. It's a bit of a mindful
dog walk or something.
Yeah. So and I always used to like walk along the river and always think like, oh God, I wonder if I'd ever be brave to actually get in there. And now I get in there and like fully immersed. It's just lovely. So yeah, we'll either swim in the river or along Chalkwell if we can catch the tide. Tollsbury is quite nice. I don't know if you've been over to Tollsbury. It's lovely, nice little place where you can swim all the time because no tide.
You can replace it with a cold shower maybe, can't you?
You can. I hate cold showers.
I hate it. I prefer to get in.
Yeah.
Because do you know what I don't like about it is that it's hitting your body at all different angles and it's really uncomfortable, whereas if you just literally submerge yourself...
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Your body can't go nowhere else.
That's why I only do cold showers.
Oh, mate, you need to...
Really?
Yeah.
I can't, no.
Well, I literally get in, switch it on. And no, actually, I've
just go like that.
No, literally, I will get, before, you get in and you put your toe in, you go, just to get hot, I literally will put it to cold before I turn it on.
Right.
So that obviously it never gets the opportunity. And to be honest, if I tell people about it, I always say, if you want to do it, this is probably the time of year to do it. Because it's never that, don't do it in February because you will... It's the worst time ever to do it.
Especially when you do it in the morning and it's dark.
Oh, yes. Yeah. There's something about it. It's being light. You can feel a bit safer, I think.
I read somewhere, though, that the difference between plunging and cold showers and why some people find cold showers worse is because it goes to head first. Whereas actually when you put your toe in first and go down that way, it's less of a physical shock to the body.
Yeah.
Like just hitting in the face is hard.
Yeah, it's that slow sort of submerge, isn't it? You go,
get your breathing right.
Yeah. Have you done that for long?
A few years now. And I always, as I said, I always wanted to do it. And then my friend, I was just like, I just didn't know if I had the mindset to do it, and she got me some neoprene socks on my birthday.
Oh, right.
And because it was always like I just can't get my big toe past my big toe.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, now you can get past your big toe because you've got some neoprene socks to wear.
Yeah.
And that was it. Then I was in.
Got no excuse then, have you?
Exactly. So yeah, a few years now and just love it. Yeah.
And you go down. You said you go down Chalkwell.
Chalkwell.
Is there a club?
No, we don't really do any clubs.
Because there's the club that
there is a club
called the
there.
Blue Tits, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's lots of those. But yeah, and then there's one in Tollsbury which is Blue Bits because they've got some men in it.
So we can get involved.
Exactly. But no, we're not part of any of those. I've just got a few friends who I do it regularly with, and they're like my soul swimming sisters.
Yeah.
I haven't done the cold swim yet in the sea.
No, you've got to.
I actually find it worse. I actually think it's worse because I got told, or did I hear on a podcast, when you're still, your body builds up a barrier against the cold. But when you're moving, the body breaks the barrier and the cold gets in.
Yeah.
So when you're swimming, you think to yourself, I'm going to move, I'm going to make myself warmer, but you're actually making yourself colder.
Yeah, it's true.
Really?
I think the movement of water sometimes feels colder.
Definitely.
Really?
And also, I'm still a bit of a wuss for any bits. And one of my friends from my little swimming group, we're the screamers and the yelpers. So like anything like seaweed touches is like,
Yeah. You know? It is a bit, because it's a bit murky. You don't really know what is down there, do you?
Especially like on the coast of Essex, it is. You don't know what's in there.
Come out with 3 feet. You're like, oh my God, what's going on?
I've got a friend who's a big burly man, and he's got a rule: if he can't see his feet, you don't get in.
Really?
Yeah. So
really, well, you're never going to get in Essex.
Yeah, exactly.
He has to go to Barbados.
Yeah.
So Sarah, thanks for joining us. So you are a branding expert.
Yes. Well, yes. Let's say that.
Yeah. So you started off. Your dad owned a design agency.
So my dad had a successful design agency. I mean, he still has a successful design agency. He retired only recently, but it's still going. So growing up, like he was always just busy, traveling all around the world, working on some amazing brands. And always he went 150 miles per hour as well, just like very entrepreneurial. And I was always really excited by what he got to work on, like a lot of high-end spirit brands, and a lot of consumer brands which we see everywhere, like Lucozade, L'Oreal, all sorts of things like that. You know, just brands which I knew and I was buying as a child. And and I just wanted to get into that world, and it just seemed really exciting with like all these creative people. And I think, we used to pop into the office. He had an office just off Tottenham Court Road for a while. We used to pop in there and use the photocopier, and it was all really exciting. And, back in the day, And then, when I got to about 14, I just did some work experience at his design agency. A few of the designers took me under their wing, and I got to work on like creating little mock-ups and things like that for like Heinz ketchup, and I think it was Kingsmill bread at the time we were working on. And so doing things like putting those together and just helping out with creative ideas and giving me brainstorming things to do. And that was it. I was just like, this is where I want to be, and I'd love to do this. But I didn't take really a straightforward path to that. And I had signed up after school, after my A-levels, to do a foundation in arts and do the art, maybe go design-led. But I kind of felt like I was more of the suit side rather than the creative side, and more of the thinking side rather than creative. I just started working through the school holidays, didn't take my place in my foundation course in art, and then went back later. Got the opportunity from my dad later on when he said, I was, I think, about 20 by that stage. I'd done lots of work in sales and publishing. And he was like, look, if you want to, there's a potential opportunity for an office junior. You can do some admin and things like that if you want a foot in the door. And I was earning quite good money by that stage, like good commission on publishing sales. And I was like, sod it, I'll just go, give it a go. And and just worked my way up quite quickly and quite rapidly, And I think I've said before, my dad was just like, before me, he didn't ever take on anyone who hadn't had a degree in marketing or a degree relevant to design agency world and branding world. And a lot of it, I think, is common sense, and I learned a lot on the job. And I worked with some brilliant people who like mentored me in design agencies who were really experienced. Learned quite quickly and thrown in at the deep end and just swam, really.
Was it quite a drive because it was your dad's business? Do you think it would have been different if it was someone else's? Or
maybe. And also I felt the whole time I worked with my dad that I was kind of working in his shadow a little bit, and had to prove myself that I was there, not just because my dad owned the business. And actually, my dad and I never really worked together directly on, like, they had enough projects that we didn't have to work together on. Even though a small agency, it was only about 12 of us at the time, or even less of that when I first started. And we never worked together on the same project. We'd do separate projects. And, it was always like, you had to call him, my dad's Bernard, like, Bernard, Dad, I don't know how you guys.
I think
I've
had to do that a couple of times. Tony, I'll see if Tony's about.
Yeah.
Dad, what are we doing?
Well, no, I think we were similar to that, to be honest with you, because maybe not in your shadow, but you still, even now, you still get people going, now, did you still work for your dad?
Yeah.
You've been in the business for 10 years.
Yeah. So while I had a brilliant time there, learnt loads. And my dad always said to me, like, you shouldn't have left Nude, which was his agency. Right. And they did do fantastic projects. It was work hard, play hard, really fun team, lots of fun, really brilliant projects. But I was just like, I need to prove myself beyond here as well. Like, I've learned loads from you guys, but I think I need to go and do it somewhere else. So I went and worked for a couple of other design agencies, worked my way up, and then had kids, and then it all changed again. Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah. I know, they throw a spanner in the works. And I think back in that time, like design agencies, and I think it's changed quite a bit now, but it was very much work hard, play hard. Yeah. And we did a lot of playing and had some great times. But as soon as you've got kids in the equation, it's just working hard. It is, yes. And everyone's else is going out and having a really good time, and you're having to go home, work overtime, and then try and get home, nursery. I think when I went back to work after having 2 kids, and I had both in nursery for a while, I was coming home with like 200 quid or something.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And it's like, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? And is it motivational enough? Like, am I loving my job enough to only be earning such a small amount of money. And I know it's a short time, but like, 2 or 3 years where you're paying those high-end nursery fees.
Yeah.
But at the time, it feels...
It's crippling sometimes. It's always just demoralising.
Train fares plus nursery costs plus prep lunch, and it racks up.
Yeah. So how old are your kids now?
12 and 13 now. About that. Yeah.
Close together as well.
Exactly. So that's why I think that's the slight error in having them so close together. That the nursery costs were at the really young age nursery fees for quite some time together, but. Yeah, we're out of that stage now.
I think the play hard thing goes out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I wouldn't say I've stopped drinking, but I pretty much stopped drinking.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything worse than going out on a Saturday and having to look after a kid on a Sunday.
That's why. I mean, I was never much of a drinker anyway, and I think as I've got older, I think I've been more comfortable in saying I'm not a drinker, because before, everyone's like going out and getting pissed, and you sort of feel like the odd one and go like, I don't really get much from doing this.
Yeah.
But especially as a parent, like you say, getting up, getting woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you've got a stinking hangover is just the idea of hell.
Yeah.
I know. My husband works in advertising, and he does drink and has to go out and entertain clients. I'm like, I just don't know how you're doing it. Like getting up, and he's up out the door at I think 5:30. Well, I don't know, because I'm still asleep. But I don't know how he does it day after day, and burning the candles at both ends.
God bless zero alcohol beers. That's what I say.
I know.
Because you can sort of have a beer and sort of like.
Yeah.
If you put it in a glass, you feel like one of the lads, and no one says anything. Whereas if you don't drink a Diet Coke, especially as a bloke, they're like, "What are you doing?"
I know. And I always, before having had a cancer diagnosis, I wanted to not drink. I wanted to go through stages of trying not to drink, but I do find the social pressure is still quite hard not to. If you haven't, as soon as I could say sorry, as soon as people knew that I'd had cancer, they were like, "Oh yeah, you don't need to. It's fine. You had the perfect get out."
Had cancer, you've got a problem.
Exactly. I've then got to try and justify why I'm not drinking, and it's like, you could have one, couldn't you? And no questions asked.
I think it's changing. I think really do. I think when maybe your kids are older, certainly than mine, I think the whole there's been a big shift. I just don't think they want to drink anymore. They want to go to their gym and look good.
They're all the 16-year-olds are ripped. Oh my god.
I really hope so. But so now it's easier, and I'm trying to do the sober thing again. But I have a drink occasionally, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
So the brands that you see or work with, do you see anything with these companies that maybe not you work with, but that they're getting wrong on a regular basis, or?
Yeah, so typically if I'm looking for work, I will target brands, and I'll look for brands and businesses where I see an opportunity, where I can see that, some businesses you look at and you're like, oh God, I don't know where to start. Sorry, it's just, and they maybe they're not brand savvy enough, and I don't necessarily want to go into a role where I'm doing all the education to get them to even to the first point before we can brand build. But I think it's brands where you can see they're actually doing maybe 80% of it right, or it's looking really quite good, but maybe they're not getting the traction, or they're not getting the sales or the growth of the awareness. And you can just even just look at their website or any sort of brand touch points, and you can see where if they tweaked maybe the messaging or the graphics or the brand or the name, or or who they're trying to talk to, or what their competitors are doing, and have to do a little bit more learning, that a few tweaks and they could have it nailed. So those are generally the brands which I'll look at and think, I'm going to target them. And what I'll generally do is maybe just give them a cold call and just say, look, I've got some ideas. Can I just put something on email to you? And sometimes that's quite a good way of doing it. I mean, not everyone responds, but it's quite a good way.
Yeah.
And then otherwise it's recommendation, which is great.
Yeah.
So,
you mentioned quite a lot of facets to sort of branding there. I mean, a lot of people maybe just think it's just like the logo and a strap line sort of thing, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, there is a lot more to it. And I think with small to medium-sized businesses, which is what I typically work with now, is I think often there's a big rush to right, okay, I've got a brand idea. We need to get it to market as quick as possible. Really exciting, really inspired. But what I try and encourage them to do is just take a bit of time and think about things, look around you, look at your competition. What can you learn from them? It's not about copying, it's seeing what they're doing and what maybe mistakes they're making, what they're doing well, and what you can learn from that, but also understanding the audience and really getting to an insight to understand like what is motivating that potential customer or audience to come and buy your product or service. And doing that homework and really understanding sort of your product, your service, and how it responds to those needs and what's going on in the market.
Do you get much pushback? Because we were talking to James about his consultancy, and he was basically saying sometimes I go in and, you tell them what basically they don't want to hear, and they don't like it, and then he sort of fizzles out, and he goes, look, we've had 3 months, I'm going to take a step back. Do you ever get anyone, you do something or say something, they go, no, I don't like that? Or,
I think
there's no accounting for taste, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Generally, the clients I work with are quite receptive, I guess, because, as I said, how I approach them is give them some little thought starters and like a starter for 10 of like, okay, if I was to work for you, I think like these are some of the things which you could potentially be doing a bit better. And I think if they're open to that and they can see, they'll recognise as soon as I even had a conversation this morning. I was like, just gave them a few pointers, just like, yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, we need to work on that. Yeah, and so they're immediately receptive then. So generally, and I do find like when I work with these like sort of small to medium sized businesses, they're so busy running their business and they get so bogged down in like the day to day running of it that sometimes someone coming in and going like standing back and looking at their business, giving a bigger picture. So because when I'm presenting that, I sometimes feel like I'm teaching them to suck eggs. They must know all of this, and they're like, no.
Because they're in it. They're literally burrowing away in it. And we always say this, and again, James, going back to what James was saying about the consultancy, sometimes you need someone just to come in who's got nothing to do with it to actually give you a bit of clarity on it.
And often not even in the same industry, someone completely, and someone who doesn't, for us, if you're talking about the strings business, someone who's not a musician, someone who's not in music industry, they'll just go, oh yeah, have you not thought about this? And you're so in the weeds that it was not obvious to you because you've got blinkers on basically.
That was the universal sign language for
in the weeds.
That's like when I'm swimming in the sea in short quail. But I totally agree. I think it's that issue of just trying to run your business, trying to do everything, and just having that outside perspective. And like what you said, is sometimes I think it is like I generally, my experience comes from FMCG, like fast moving consumer goods and e-commerce brands, but I do a lot of service-based brands and B2B now as well. And I'd like some people say like, oh, you should be specialising in one particular area. But for me, sometimes I think coming into an area which I have, or a category or an industry I haven't worked in, and with fresh eyes, I think is actually quite refreshing because you sort of do take even a wider, you've got to learn everything about that client. And I do like sort of deep dig. I'll do loads of research on like trends and things which influence purchase and things like that. So to really understand how their business works and come to it totally fresh.
Yeah,
it's good.
I think that's also good because obviously, I mean, not that you would, but if you're in the same industry all the time, there's a compulsion to do the cut and copy for everyone else. But like you say, if you're working with someone who's completely new, for you that must be again more exciting as well because you can learn new things.
Oh, and I think I don't think I've ever worked on a project which has been exactly like the one before. There's always new things, different ways. It's like just like humans really, and the best brands do behave more humanly and with emotion, but so we're all different, and all brands should be different. They should be copycats and carbon copies of the next one. So I think
I've fallen into the trap of just thinking branding is just in marketing. But it obviously is something. They're different entities. And I think so where I came, my background is in brand design and branded packaging and brands in general and brand strategy, and that was my core sort of skill set, I guess, when I left and had children. And then just having worked with clients, then I've gone into more marketing as well, and that's been a sort of on the job learning curve and with some training as well. And again, a lot of it is common sense, but it's learning technology and how that develops. And it has changed a lot even since
I started doing this like 10 years ago. So you're just having to keep up to speed with what's happening with like AI and social media and new trends and what avenues you can use for your brand. But yeah, the branding side, I feel like that's more the foundations of the brand, like setting the tone for your brand, like what emotions you connect to that brand, what is a brand, and what our perception of the brand is whatever you determine it to be, really. And then marketing is more how you see the brand, like how you get it out there and how. So once you've got that established, is which ways are we going to push it to make sure our audience see it and come to us? So
so I guess it is like the branding is the, like you say, the foundation of the building, and then at least you've got a direction to go in rather than you just in a boat and you just don't know where you're going, do you? Otherwise,
and that's the thing. I think it's really that foundation is really important because it makes marketing easy or easier. Once you've got those sort of key messages established and your what, your how, your why, and you can say that in a very shorthand way, then that helps with like taglines, that helps with core messages, which benefits you need to be pushing out to your audience. What do your audience understand, and what do they need? Why do they need you? So I think that's.
And AI, how is that? Is it affecting that? I feel like you might be, from what I get from you, a bit more high end, rather than someone just, I don't know, going on Canva and just typing something in and there's a logo,
I generally, so for logos, I generally work with like designers who I've worked with in design agencies who are freelancers and I know are like senior and brilliant at what they do. And I suppose the advantage of working with me when working with a design agency is I'm getting them direct. I haven't got the agency overheads. So you can get that high-end skill set for not as much as what.
So are they allowed to actually do it freelance?
If they're freelancing, yeah, for sure. So
if they're employed by the agency, then obviously
if they're employed by the agency, then but a lot of the designers I've worked with in the past are either still working full-time for agencies, but a lot have gone freelance. So, and they work with independent brands, but they'll also do free agency stints. So they're in that world and they've got all that brilliant experience in agency world, but also, they're available to work on a freelance basis. So that's great.
And when we were touching on AI,
are
they using any AI or is it a little bit
designers?
More?
I'm not knowingly. I definitely use it as a tool now. I think it's just really helpful. It's an assistant, at this stage. And just as I said, like even in terms of like that research piece, and I think the latest development is that if you plug in something to AI, like you ask a question like about what brands, if I'm looking for what potentially competitors would be for a certain brand, it's giving you, they're saying it's turning into more like shop GPT now.
Yes.
So like that's the involvement of AI that now, potentially it's going to steal more from Google, that actually you're getting really smart responses and that you can actually get those brand recommendations through ChatGPT. Just doing that sort of that research, it's just a helpful tool. It's time saving, but I still think what I do, you still need that human touch when you think about emotions, and even just on LinkedIn it's constantly like, I've seen this bit of copy, it looks so like it's been written by AI, and you can see that it's a lot of it does still look like it's been churned out of AI. So it's a tool, but you still need that human touch to make it personal to your brand.
I mean, it is incredible, really, because it is, like you say, it's such more of a tailored search, isn't it, now? Because if I need to find something out on Excel, before I'd have to type it in Google. I wouldn't know what I'm looking for. What function am I looking for on this? But I actually say, I've got this problem. What form did I use? And it just churns it out in like seconds, and it will say, give you the exact directions of what to do. So it blows my mind, really. And
I don't use Google anymore. I literally go straight to, it tells you anything. I go straight to ChatGPT.
100%. And like even we're just looking at cars as well and looking at finance offers on cars, and just I plugged in like, I'm interested in these 3 or 4 cars, can you do a comparison for me based on finance options? And it just, you produce a table with all the different finance options based on reviews and everything else, to do that, you wouldn't get that response from Google, or it'd be buried somewhere amongst all the other branded stuff. It's and then it's giving those brand recommendations too. So and that's why it's really important, like SEO and all that blog content and everything. So you're found through ChatGPT now as well. So that's really important.
I suppose. I mean, it really helps me when I'll write a post, like I'll write the text out for a post, and it embellishes it. Right, but I suppose there comes a point where when everyone's doing that, it's gonna you're gonna have to go backwards.
Every person,
you're gonna have to go backwards and be more unique. Rather than using AI.
I think and as I said, I think it's a helpful tool. So yes, definitely it might help you put a script together, or a blog together, but then it's bring it back and editing it and making it back into your tone of voice, and so it just feels genuinely human.
I know people that are using it for therapy. They literally type in like, I've got problems of some sort, and it gives you like this, and it's literally like, bloody hell, that's really good.
And it's got a lovely consultative tone of voice. Like, I totally understand what you're going through.
Sure you'll go through that.
Thanks
ChatGPT.
I've been using it with my daughter because she asked me a question. It was like about she asked a lot of questions. Well, absolutely. There's these sort of questions. And so many things you take for granted that you go, it just is, But and then there was something actually about she was learning about the war or something, like VE Day was recently, and she asked me something, and I typed it into ChatGPT and I said, I'm with my 5-year-old daughter, so obviously the tone was going to come out quite simple. And it just explained it in such a way that I could never do it. It was really soft and just really easy for her to, digest. And I was like, "Is that all right?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's great." And then it was, and it, told us. It said, "Do you want to?" And then it asks a question, doesn't it? Always. And then, "Do you want to hear a story?" Actually, it's like the best story ever.
Within 5 minutes, you've upgraded to the premium version. Exactly. Get the rest of the story.
Exactly. I haven't got it. Is it? Could you talk to it and all that sort of stuff? And
I think so. My brother has got the premium version. He raves about it. Yeah. So I haven't upgraded yet, but I'm getting there.
I have as well.
$11.99. I'm still cheap.
I think when she wanted to suggest, "Do you want a picture about this?" and then it's going, just thinking about it, and then she's badgering me, going, "When is this picture going to come?" I'm like, well, I think if I pay premium, I might have this in about 10 seconds.
100%.
So our business downstairs, Strings Direct's a reseller. We were talking about earlier on. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Like the holy grail for a reseller is, rather than someone go, "Oh, where'd you get that?" "Oh, I got it from," we're called Strings Direct. "I got it from Strings Direct." And that's them saying to them, recommending the brand, rather than saying, "I got it on the internet." So is there, I suppose it's not really a one size fits all, is it? How do you get to that? I mean, we were first to market, to be honest with you, so we've been around a long time. And
have you got much competition?
No,
still not.
Well, no, because we sell guitar strings and guitar parts, and they're all quite low ticket stuff. A set of guitar strings is a tenner, maybe 20 quid. So we do a couple of hundred orders a day. And so to get the revenue up, you've got to do a lot of orders per day. So anyone coming into that space can't be bothered. So I guess in that respect we're quite lucky.
I don't think anyone's really gone into just strings. I think a lot of it. We say if we've got a main competitor, it's probably eBay and Amazon. Purely because they're. Amazon sell everything anyway.
Are they more expensive for eBay or Amazon?
No,
there's a lot of, believe it or not, there's a lot of fakes. Which I was like, when they started coming out, people were saying there's fakes. I was like, who's going to fake a £5 set of guitar strings? But the consumables. So, they're probably making these, whoever is making them in China, they're making them for like a penny or something and selling them for £5. And it doesn't look like it's a fake, because I think people normally think, when you think about fakes, it's, oh, she's got a fake handbag or something that she's bought for 50 quid and they're £3,000. Not some £5 set of strings.
And when they've bought a fake, is it identified, like they'll notice? They'll know.
Well, it depends.
I would say no, right?
If you're a beginner and you buy a set and you put it on, it's a bit of metal at the end of the day. If you don't know any better, you just go, oh, whatever. But if the only people that really know is someone that's played the originals. Because, not to go too much into it, but what goes into these strings, the technology that these companies use is quite high end. and you can really tell.
Yeah.
So only when you A/B it, and we bought some fakes like ourselves off the internet. The packaging is exactly the same.
Oh, jeez.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So if you went online and bought for your son or daughter or
Yeah.
whatever, you would never know.
Yeah. God. And I was going to ask a question on that. Oh, God, no, it's just gone now. But yeah. So sorry, what was your question to me? You asked about me.
I think you were saying, like, was it because we are a reseller?
Yeah.
I think how do you? We often struggle. We say we struggle, is because we're just selling other people's brands.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily
The brand.
Yeah, because we're putting out promotions like, oh, buy these set of strings or buy this. You know, you're not necessarily promoting yourself. Whereas obviously the brands themselves are promoting.
Amazon are promoting their own brand. They're not
Yeah.
promoting L'Oreal or something,
Yeah.
but they're selling L'Oreal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just wondered your take on. I suppose it's a difficult question, really, but like, where do you get to that? How do you get to that point?
How do you get to what point? Sorry.
So the brand is you rather
Yeah.
than the actual brands that you're selling, so to speak.
But the brand, they are coming back to you because
But they could buy them anywhere.
they
really.
could buy. But so anyone who is an experienced guitarist
Yeah.
is not going to buy those dodgy.
No, true, yeah.
So they're going to see them for what they are.
Yeah.
So it's the people. So they're not necessarily your target market then.
No.
So the ones who are buying potentially the fakes are
Yeah.
not your target market.
No.
So you need to zoom in again a bit more on those more experienced ones who they're going to be more loyal. And maybe your secondary audience could be those more beginner guitarists who have had a dodgy experience and are then learning as they go. But your primary are the ones who know what they're talking about, and really building up loyalty with them as well, and maybe incentivizing those loyal customers with, and that sort of, they'll come back to you time and time again because you're trusted and they know that they get good quality and they know that you stock the best brands, and really communicating that and the value of those brands which you work with and the partnerships you've got.
Yeah, so it's like you say, communicating our advantages of using us.
Yeah.
As opposed to just putting it out we sell this brand, we sell this brand.
Yeah.
It's why you should use us and why we're not Amazon effectively.
Yeah. And that you only work with the very best suppliers. You've got this much experience.
Yeah.
All of those things are really valuable as a brand.
Yeah.
And you've built up that experience over a long time. So you want the experts targeting the experts in the guitar industry.
When you're in the weeds, you don't necessarily think
Yeah.
that. You just think, oh, we're churning out all these sets of
We
strings.
do a lot of nowadays. We were probably up until about a couple of years ago. We were scared about saying the fake word
Yeah.
because it looked. I don't want to say sour grapes, but I just didn't want fake to be associated with our brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you say fake and Strings Direct, some people put two together or whatever. But we've got a lot more comfortable with educating people.
Yeah.
I mean, like we did a video on how I bought some fakes off eBay.
Yeah.
And we put them on and A/B'd them and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that's really where we've got to go. That's where we're going with it anyway.
Yeah. But then just on that, to counter that point, your audience, again, if we're saying that they are those ones who know they wouldn't buy a fake anyway,
Yeah.
that really, is that important? Is
Probably
that
not.
important to them?
It's like a free consultation.
So maybe that isn't the be all and end all
Yeah.
for them, because they wouldn't have even thought about buying a fake in the first place.
Yeah.
They come
Yeah.
to you because they know you're a trusted supplier.
But I think just from that point, I think that I don't actually think there's a lot of people that know there's fakes.
Yeah,
To be
yeah.
honest with you, that's the only education we've got to put across.
Yeah,
because,
true.
Like, I own a strings company, and when I heard that there was fakes, I was like, no, surely
Yeah.
they're not fakes.
Yeah.
But they are.
Yeah, so maybe, and in this times of cosy living, like maybe even those experienced guitarists might, if they feel
Yeah.
like it looks exactly like your product,
Yeah.
they might take a punt and just give it a go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Again,
in a way,
without,
good.
Yeah.
Because they'll come back, they'll go,
true.
"They were crap."
Yeah. But
It's
again, like that's where sometimes it's useful just to do a refresher, and just do, like with some of the clients I work with, I might do a piece of market research, which would just be like, give me 10 of your customers. I'll work independently from you. Like, they can be loyal customers or they can be first time customers. I'll go and have a chat with them and ask them some probing questions about why they buy from you. And then that just, you hear it directly from the horse's mouth. and it's third party, so they can be a bit more open and honest. Like, you know, I don't have to necessarily tell them any names of who I've spoken to.
Yeah.
And then you refine based on the consensus of what those customers have said, that can help you refine your messaging and know what they want to hear from you. And they might give you some really honest feedback and say, actually, I think you guys should be telling us about this, or educating us about this, or I didn't know you did this, you know, and all of those sort of things.
Undercover agent.
Yeah,
secret
exactly.
agent work.
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah.
So, not to touch on your experiences, but nowadays the goal is more happiness than money.
I'm happy to touch on experience.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm like, you know, anything from an awareness perspective as well. And
the floor is yours. Go.
all right, well, yeah. So, God, it's funny because I think I've been in a bit of a whirlwind then the last few years. So it's gone a bit foggy, you know, a bit like COVID.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really remember the detail of what you went through.
I can't believe it's 5 years ago.
Honestly, I can't believe it's 5 years ago. So then even my 2 years ago feels like a bit of a fog now. And I guess that's maybe a little bit of trauma, you know, from the experience. But I found a lump, like I think probably 2.5 years ago, and went and got it checked out. And my mum had breast cancer. She died just over 10 years ago, not from breast cancer, from sarcoma, which was a new primary. But so I've always had this, I think because we had two cancer experiences, and I was really close to my mum, and she was like the matriarch of our family. And so when she died of cancer, I think I had ingrained in me, and I don't even know if I always felt a bit health anxious. I don't know why I was always health anxious, but I think after that I became really health anxious. So I was always on high alert, thinking, you know, I could get breast cancer. But apparently, general populace, I think if you, my mum was one of 7 lot of females in her family, 5 girls, and none of them have had breast cancer other than my mum. But I don't know, I just hadn't.
Psychological thing.
Something. Yeah. I don't know if it's intuition or it's health anxiety. But when I found a lump, I was like, right, I'm on that. And I got checked out. And turned out to be a grade 3 breast cancer. And I caught it really early because I'm obviously very vigilant. And I went straight to mastectomy from that, and had a reconstruction. And then been put on longer term, like hormone suppressants and things like that, which I'll take for probably the next 10 years or so. And I'm on some other preventative drugs, which come with a lovely bucket load of side effects. And then it was all going along quite smoothly. And then when it came up to the first year, it was actually ahead of the first year. I had like a couple of months before I was due to go for my first like screening. And I think I was popping in to see my consultant about something else. I can't remember what. Again, that fog. And she was like, oh, while you're here, I'll just do your mammogram for you while you're here. I was like,
you weren't ready for it.
I was like, I don't know. I actually don't know. Immediately I was like shaking. And I don't know why. I just didn't feel like I was done. And even though I was like, it was coming up to a year, doing all the things, I again, I don't know if it's intuition or it was health anxiety, but I've been working on my health anxiety a lot. And they did a mammogram, nothing showed up, but because I'm a private patient, fortunately this time, they do an ultrasound too. And on the ultrasound, they picked up something else on the other breast. Oh. And I was like devastated, obviously, and went back to the start, I could have had a lumpectomy, but I was like, by this stage, twice in like under a year at that stage, so done. Get rid of them, don't want them. And yeah, they put me through counselling, because you know, if you choose to have double mastectomy and not have reconstruction as well, then you know, they want to check you're psychologically ready for that, which I totally was. And I haven't looked back on making that decision, and it has changed everything, I think, from a business perspective, from a life perspective, how I eat, what I drink, everything else. And just from, working as well. I want to do more work which has some value. Yeah. I want to work with nice people. I don't want to get too stressed out. Yeah. I think I'm learning to say no and put a bit more boundaries in, which I really have big problems with letting go before this, you know, like
with that, didn't we? We say yes to everyone when really you just need to go no.
Yeah,
you
totally.
know, it's not worth it.
And I've worked, like, there's been projects I've worked in the past, and it's got like almost a little bit toxic, and you're like, no, I'm just going to carry on. Carry on.
Yeah, just push through. You'll get
pushing
better.
through it, you know. And actually, I would have had a lot nicer time had I walked away and maybe, you know, listened to the universe and see what's coming and what's coming my way, and put out the good feelings and the good vibes, and so yeah, I've learned a lot from it. And yeah, I'm trying to do better work, nicer work. And I'm doing a bit of charity. So I'm working with a charity called Flat Friends, who are a mastectomy charity, and helping
I love
them.
that.
Yeah.
What a great
Great. I like that.
Yeah. So, and they're such a brilliant, lovely charity, and it's so inclusive and warm. And the women in that group are just so strong, such strong characters, and so opinionated. But I think because we've all been through such a journey, that they're brilliant.
I think.
Yeah.
Like you say, you've been through such a journey, then you don't care what you say. You've gone through so much.
Yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah, and I think, I would say, like, I don't even know if I would have necessarily done something like this a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's helped me find a little bit more of a voice. Not to say it wasn't the most horrible experience, but I think it's life changing as well. And I'd say life is better for what I've been through.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, it's great ways that you've turned it into that.
Absolutely.
Positive.
And please God, fingers crossed, it doesn't ever come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But we'll make the most of it while we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with you say you're working with a conscious effort to work with smaller businesses.
Not necessarily too.
Yeah.
Hang on. I think that's the thing. I work with small businesses who are brand savvy.
Yeah.
So as I said, they're generally doing things that they're getting small and they're growing.
Yeah.
And they're ready to scale.
Yep.
I think sometimes if they're too small, they don't have the budget, and also even just if you're thinking about what you can do marketing wise, they just don't have.
Yeah.
They're too limited.
The resources not there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's small to growing, or medium to growing, and ambitious, and and they've got a bit of a vision, but they need some clarity on how they get to where they need to get to.
Yeah.
So I think that's small, but with some vision to get bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that brand updates regularly are needed, or
It depends on the brand.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the questions I was like, you're going to ask me this today, like, what's your favourite brand? And I'm like, my favourite brand changes all the time because I like them for a while, and then I think, then I go off them because they might change their brand look and feel, or it just, the trend moves on, so how do they stay relevant? I think a lot of the time it is important to refresh the brand and make sure you continue to stay relevant. Yeah. But also people's taste change and how we mature, so a brand which I might have been the target audience for them 10 years ago. Yeah. Maybe I'm not their target consumer anymore. If I think even like ASOS, I used to buy regularly, and now I try not to buy so much fast fashion anyway. Again, that's probably where I've changed. Like my mindset has shifted. I don't necessarily buy fast fashion. I'm not necessarily their target consumer. I'm probably a bit older than their target consumer, and that's why it's not so relevant to me anymore. So I think they need to continuously hone in on their target audience, and as those generations change, their needs and desires change as well, so making sure they're relevant to them.
Because you just hear of all these, like they're spending millions and millions and millions of pounds and the I don't know, Nike, they just thicken the tick or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So to me, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wet behind the ears, but that seems a bit excessive. I suppose they've got the resources, haven't they?
Yeah, but we don't. Again, you don't know what is going on behind the scenes, and because I think Nike has had a bit of a hard time the last few years. Sales has dropped off. Other brands again have come because fashion is so trend led as well, and other like New Balance is flying now.
Yeah.
So then they have to be looking at their brand and seeing we need to catch up, and what do we need to do, and that tiny detail on the tick might be one part of that, but behind the scenes there could be a lot of work going. I'm sure there's continuous work going.
Of course. They've probably just got a team just continually working on it and saying, right, we need to move this or whatever.
Yeah,
exactly. And so for you, is there much you got on the horizon for the future?
So lots of it's been suddenly picked up, which is great because I think it does feel like a bit of a testing time at the moment, and I think the world feels a little bit of an uneasy place, and I think that as soon as that happens, people stop spending on marketing,
of course,
and they get nervous.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's picking up, and I think doing things like this, and I say that this is what brands need to be doing, putting your voice out there and being heard and being visible. It results in potentially inquiries, which might turn into a prospective client. So there's some nice projects. Like even just I did a podcast a few weeks ago, which was released last week, and a few new inquiries from that. So I've got an e-com brand potentially working with, an FMCG spice product which is hoping to come off soon as well, and then and I'm doing a bit of hospitality work as well. So it's a real mixed bag at the minute, but again, lovely brands, really nice people, and I think I said I was saying this on the last podcast, but it's just I was quite nervous about putting myself out there and saying like I've had breast cancer, and and do potential clients then look at you like all your damaged goods, or are you up to the challenge? Are you just going to curl over and die or something, and so that and that's what goes on in my head. But actually it's, I think, again, you've just got to be true to who you are, and from a brand perspective, personal perspective as well. If that puts certain clients off, then that's fine. They're not my target audience.
I mean this from a very nice way. I think that's pretty fucking mental, to be honest, for you to be thinking that. I don't think anyone's
hopefully
like that, do you?
I don't know.
No, I
mean,
do.
Who's thinking like that? That's
like, if you're vulnerable, I don't know. Would they and I've got a big brand challenge. It's going to be really stressful. Maybe she's not up to it. I don't know. That's what's going on in my head sometimes. But actually, I have to say, I've been sort of proved wrong even the last few weeks, because even after speaking on another podcast and talking about cancer, like actually the people who got in touch with me were like, what you said really resonated with me.
I think everyone's been touched by it. That's the thing. So everyone
totally
knows, in one way or another, everyone knows, or can kind of empathise with what you've gone through. So I think, more to you really. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true.
So you're trying to push the personal brand thing as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's important. I am my business.
Yeah, of course.
So, and being visible, and how else are people going to find me? I've got a website, but I actually probably don't do enough marketing for myself. So actually doing things like this is my marketing, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's it. When you're almost not hiding, but you've got this brand front and facing, like Dispatch Bros or something, although bros and we're in it, we are the face almost of it. You're hiding behind that a little bit, and then actually when you've got to come to the fore a bit, it is nerve-wracking. You're putting yourself out, you feel very vulnerable. So
I've started doing it because James sort of inspired me, because I don't really like sorry guys, I don't really like talking to the camera. I like doing this, it's very natural. But when do you remember we've always done scripted stuff, I'm pretty rubbish at it. It takes like 10 takes to do it.
Greg knows all about that.
Yeah, we know. Sitting here for 2 hours just to get like one shot. But I saw James doing stuff. And it's just, I'm going to go for a walk with the dogs. And just talk to the camera, and it's totally natural. And I find that A, it's a lot easier for me, and B, I think it resonates with people.
Oh, totally.
You're just saying it off the cuff naturally, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think people are naturally nosy and inquisitive anyway. So if they're like, even if you're out for a walk, it's like, oh, I wonder where he is. I think that's the behind the scenes sort of element as well, which is quite interesting.
I think you have just got to get over yourself in that respect, because, like you say, I think people are inquisitive, and they quite like it in a way.
And I think for like these small brands, if you are a really small brand, I think just putting yourself out there, and you don't see enough brand owners doing that, because there's so much imposter syndrome as well when you start out as like a small brand owner. Like you're up against bigger people, more established, and you're like, oh god. But I did hear a really good tip the other day, which was like, go live once a day for a week, even if it's like for a minute, and just talk to camera every day, and by the end of that week your voice will be more confident, and you'll sound better in yourself even within a week. I know
that's a different animal altogether, isn't it?
So but that's the tip, so maybe
good tip.
Yeah, it's a good tip actually. It's just face your fears, really.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the last things we ask people, I think I put this on the brief, is your favourite quote.
My favourite quote.
Or have you got anything that someone said to you that stuck by you?
I do use it quite a lot, which is a Matt Haig. Do you know the author Matt Haig?
No, but did you say this on podcast with James? And I think I looked this up.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if it's actually in his book, but he put it on social media, and his social media account is brilliant. But he said, every patch of darkness glimmers with unseen hope.
Yes.
And that saw me for a really difficult time. But even when I'm going through like when your business feels like it's hard or everything's a bit of a slog, or even, you know, just when you're going for a difficult project, you're like, you know, there's some hope in here. And if you just keep going through that difficult patch, something good will happen.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think the similar one is this too shall pass, you know, and that saw me through a difficult time as well.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much
And
for
if
coming.
someone wants to find you, it's on Instagram.
Sarah Kelly
usually?
Brands, I'd say, is my I'm Sarah without H, and Sara Kelly Brands, and my website is sarahkellybrands.com.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Thanks, lovely to chat.
Excellent.